Game that you will be at Sunday night. Number 23 USC against number 13 LSU. LSU's a 4-point favorite for this one in Vegas. The over-under I was going to do a joke related to pregame adult beverages for you. I decided not to. You know what? Let's do it. Over-under 5.5 pregame drinks for a certain Will Ogburn.
Man, my schedule for this trip is going to be so funny. I heard from Peyton officially yesterday that he's getting it at like 9:30 or 10 on Saturday night, which is just chaos. Like, I don't know what we got an Airbnb for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and he's, I guess, getting it at like 9:30, 10 on Saturday. And so, and Sunday. So like, we're only going to hang out for Sunday. So I told him, like, dude, pick a brunch place, because that's kind of like all we're going to get. So I think we're going to be pretty well, got the lather going. It's going to be kind of hot out there. Now, that being said, this game is going to kick off a little bit earlier because it is on West Coast time. So it won't be like the whole, waiting around thing we're used to be doing all day. But yeah, I'm really excited about this game, man. The more stuff that's come out, the fact that they're going to that 12 personnel with the 2 tight ends. I was telling you about that, going back to more of the big guys Brian Kelly likes, seeing Lincoln Riley, and my guy Zachariah Branch, seeing all like the way that these two coaches are kind of positioned. I'm so fascinated by this game the closer it gets.
I asked Will about how many pregame drinks he's going to have, and he turns it into an answer about 12 personnel.
I'm so excited, bro. This is the most disorganized I've been in one of these, because I'm like, oh my God, the week is here. Let's go.
Football junkie through and through. Yeah, by the way, I'll be solo on the Sunday pod. Will's like, I'll try and watch all the games Saturday and stuff like that. Will,
we looked at each other. We were like, let's plan for success here, right?
Let's come on. What are we doing here?
Let's be real here, right?
You're going to Vegas. You're watching a team. Like, I can handle it. Your boy will be just fine solo on Sundays. So that'll be the plan. We'll have our recap pod come out before this game. So we're not going to preview this game again, but we'll have more takeaways from this with our midweek pod that we do next week. The actual over-under I had was 4 Miller Moss completions of 20 yards.
Miller Moss.
That's a good Southern name. I don't know. Where's Miller Moss from? Why do I
That's
always...
a great question.
Gosh, I feel like I know this. Oh, man, I wanted to say Oklahoma, but that didn't really line up.
Santa Monica.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Yeah, because he didn't start off with Lincoln Riley, obviously.
Yeah.
LSU allowed an average of 4 20-yard passes per game last year. Not good. 121st out of 133 FBS teams with 51 20-yard pass plays allowed. Bad. Basura in every single way. I want to see if Blake Baker can turn that around, because that's the thing with this LSU defense that has been a constant in the 2020s. Think about this. In the 4 seasons of the 2020s, LSU has not ranked among the top 90 in FBS in 20-yard pass plays allowed. That's bad. That's real bad. That's chunk plays that you're letting up. Yeah. For DBU, nonetheless, to have that, not great. 3 different DCs are to blame for that, so you can't even just blame it all on Matt House. And probably not great that LSU is also just trying to finish top 50 in yards per play allowed for the first time in the 2020s. We already know LSU hasn't won a season opener in the 2020s. I feel like I bring that up whenever I need to knock you down a peg and you're getting a little bit too confident. LSU signed a big-time recruit, or LSU got a verbal commitment from this recruit. Remember how, isn't it weird, Will, that LSU hasn't won a season opener?
It's, what's crazy about, too, I don't know if I've talked about this, but like Les Miles had this real specific stat that he was good at, which was regular season non-conference wins. He set the NCAA record for regular season non-conference wins. So not a bowl game, I don't think he even coached the playoff era, but it was every time LSU played a West Virginia, an Oregon, a TCU, they would go so far outside themselves. Virginia Tech, Les Miles would bring the boom on these random teams, and it would be this is SEC football right here. We would be fired up, beating the mess out of them. And now it's kind of starting with that implosion against Wisconsin, if you remember that. Oh, yeah. LSU's not been good in these games since then.
Yeah, that was my wedding weekend. I remember watching that game. Watched that game in shout out Knicks in Bloomington. Watched the game that night and was like, wow, can't believe Wisconsin's actually going to win this football game. But you could see all the ways in which LSU's historic defensive issues, 2020's defensive issues, could resurface in a matchup like this against Lincoln Riley, who, by the way, has top 8 scoring offenses in each of his 7 seasons as a head coach. Yeah. Sage Ryan banged up. Make what you will.
Oh no, Sage Ryan's not playing. Oh, you better pack it in now, brother.
Zay Alexander still maybe working his way back. That might be a little bit.
I would like to have on the bus, please. On the plane.
Him you want in full pads, definitely. New defensive scheme for LSU, obviously. Could be some moving parts for this LSU defense. Whatever. Can't be worse than last year, at least one would think. I hope for Blake Baker's sake, he just lets Harold Perkins rush the passer on USC's first 8 passes of the game. Do that because last year, that man played 35 snaps against the pass in the season opener, and he only rushed the passer 7 times. That's what Matt House had 8 months to prepare for. Probably didn't exactly set the wheels in motion for a Matt House extension. It instead, of course, set the wheels in motion for the entire defensive staff to get gutted. That can't happen again. It just can't. Allow 52 points. Let Harold Perkins rush the passer 15 times. Okay?
Yep.
Make sure that you do that above all else. Really, as a whole, obviously, LSU getting kicked in the face in an opener, that's what can't happen again. Because if it happens again, that's 3 for Brian Kelly. It might not just be an LSU thing, although we would all be talking about the 5 in a row in season openers. I don't think that happens again. Because for all I keep talking about with this LSU defense and how you could see a world in which, oh my God, there's Sage Ryan chasing Zachariah Branch into the end zone. That's not ideal. Yeah, you don't even have to close your eyes and picture it. That's just like, the little squiggly line you see in your eye. That's just the image of this happening in this football game. Even if this is not necessarily an LSU offense that looks exactly like it did last year, I think we're still going to see Garrett Nussmeier have a lot of success. Garrett Nussmeier having success against a Lincoln Riley coach defense. Imagine that. Even if Chris Hinton doesn't play, banged up, it looks like, I think the takeaway is that LSU has an offense that's still plenty capable of putting up big points, and that USC's defense is still plenty capable of allowing big points. Breaking news. Even though I really did like the Danton Lynn hire and think that he could have some long-term success, he's going to be better than Alex Grinch. I'm hedging a touch because I'm going to say that USC is going to cover, but I'll go with LSU winning a thrilling 38-35 game in the game that Lincoln Riley wanted to get out of.
Yeah, so imagine this, right? I was explaining, I felt like Jonah Hill and Moneyball explaining Lincoln Riley to John the other day because John's just like not a big football guy. And I'm like, all right, this is Lincoln Riley. He's coached like all these Heisman Trophy candidates. He's won the Big 12. He is Oklahoma's career win percentage leader. There's just one problem. He's best friends with Alex Grinch. And it's like the funniest thing ever because it's like, how has this guy not been more successful? And I like went through every bowl game. It's like I started with the Georgia game, really looked like this was like the 2 coaches that were be on top of the sport for a minute, and then the last couple of like lost to Tulane, So it's like it's very interesting to see kind of which version of this team is going to show up. I do think whatever Lincoln Riley is worth as a college football coach, we're going to see it this season, right? Because we've just had 2 honestly pretty disappointing seasons with Caleb Williams, given how great of a talent he was in a situation where his talent was never questioned. It was never about Caleb Williams. It was pretty much all about the defense, all about Lincoln Riley and all the distractions. So I think that this might be an addition by subtraction situation with Caleb Williams for Lincoln Riley, where it's like, well, now I really got to focus on my fundamentals because I don't have a magician playing quarterback. I can't just line up my buddy to go play, coach DC and go play linebacker or whatever. I think that, Nussmeier is going to be such a fascinating player to watch. I love him. Going back to the tight ends thing for a second, seeing some of the practice film of him, this is a guy who's going to have some turnovers, and it's funny.
He will.
There's practice footage of him throwing balls that look like my first week of playing NCAA, where I didn't have the throwing mechanics down. It was just throwing it right to a DB. So I think that goes hand in hand with why these tight ends are coming in. But at the same time, these tight ends are horrifying. And I said this from the beginning, talking about we need to get these tight ends involved. Looks like that's what's come out. Very, very excited about that. Again, I've said it ad nauseum. The fast receivers designed to get downfield, the huge tight ends designed to eat space and set the edges on the run game. I think the running back stable is going to be super interesting to monitor in this game. And I think at the end of the day, like, these are 2 teams that want to be more smash mouth, for lack of a better word. I think that last week and over the course of his career, Lincoln Riley has been painted as a guy who is pretty finesse, for the nicest way I could say that. And I think that Brian Kelly never, ever. We just talked about 2 of his defensive coordinators being 2 of the greatest defensive minds in the sport and having these big physical teams that are going to punch you in the mouth. He never, ever, ever thought he would be here. And so I think both of these guys' reputations are kind of on the line. They're on softness watch, which is never where you want to be as a college football coach. I do think and again, I've said this, over and over again. I love Blake Baker as a hire. I love these coaches they hired because of what happened last year, right? Talking about the Deuce Chestnut interception in this game, talking about Denver Harris, talking about the gambles they made in the portal to fill some of these holes that Brian Kelly had to go fill. I think he's building the old school way now, when it comes to the defense, because he saw that those didn't pay off last year. And for that reason, combined with a new scheme, I think these DBs are going to be an adventure. I really do. I honestly am kind of glad Sage Ryan, might not play, because these younger guys are really showing something. But the guys that have been there forever, to me, all you know how to do is lose, right? Because you have these bad data, these bad coaches that are not really your fault. I was joking the other day, like, what if Sage Ryan had just gone to Alabama? He would probably just be in the NFL now. He would be hidden by that scheme. Someone would have been sold the dream of Sage Ryan, the 5-star. He would have gone the second or third round, already gotten paid by now, and he would have been exposed in the NFL, just like Mark Barron. See you later, right? You've already got the money, run to the bank. So I applaud him for staying at LSU as long as he has, for sure. But at the same time, I think, we're going to see these younger, hungrier guys on defense for LSU. Now, that being said, if we're going to send Harold Perkins, that coverage has to be good. I don't think there's been enough time to get that coverage down. So I would say this game is going to be a little bit more higher scoring. I'm going to go like a 42, 39 or 38 win for USC, because of week one. I think if this was week 4, I think LSU wins this going away. But I think that, you got to adjust the defense, but this team feels like been together for longer, where when you got an entire coaching staff the way that LSU did last year, when you lose your offensive coordinator and replace him with a co-OC, when you lose your entire defensive staff and upgrade at every position, you got guys from over here who are saying, here's the best advice I ever got as a coach. Here's the best advice I ever got as a coach. I'm coming from Texas. I'm coming from Mizzou. I'm coming from, over here. So yeah, I just think that's how humans work, man. I think that, at the end of the day, you send Harold Perkins. He creates some mismatches and create some havoc, and I would love to see that. But that coverage right now, especially with Zy Alexander banged up, is not good enough to take those chances one-on-one. And I think that the Lincoln Riley offense has shown that against an undisciplined defense. That's the thing. The defenses that have exposed Lincoln Riley have all been disciplined. Alabama, Georgia defenses that are out there to kill you, and they have pushed them around. I don't think LSU right now is the Jimmies and Joes to do that on the back end of the defense. But yeah, I think up front, LSU has much of a chance. I think they can score easily on this team. But we have about one more game of the 2023 era to live through, because this is just a nightmare matchup week 1 for a new defense.
It is. And for anyone that's ever called Will an LSU homer, let the record show he's predicting USC to win this game.
I got a bet on Graham Mertz. What else do you want from me?
There we go. Is there, because we're both on the record saying we don't think LSU is going to make the 12-team playoff. Mm-hmm. Is there a result that could play out in this game that would make you, I don't want to say do a full 180 and overreact and say, oh my God, LSU is destined to make the playoff. But if LSU wins this game 28-10, something like that, defense balls out. Blake Baker looks like the Messiah. Harold Perkins is 2022 version of himself. Does that, as an LSU fan, make you think, 10-2? Is that on the table? Or is that more so just they exposed a work in progress, an offense that, while historically has been great under Lincoln Riley, obviously, is still trying to fit a lot of new pieces in?
I think that's a great question. I think at the end of the day, someone like Zachariah Branch really presents an interesting opportunity, because the whole at LSU's, to me, the biggest issue, I talked about defensive talent, right? But it really just is man coverage. It is the ability to play cat defense and say, hey, we got whoever the star LSU corner is that we're used to having. I'm going to go erase that guy. And Branch, who is so shifty, so fast, all-purpose preseason, we talked about that. This is the type of guy that Lincoln Riley can use a Swiss Army knife. So even if there were that, Patrick Peterson, we would need a Tyrann Mathieu who could move around the field and shadow this guy all game. So I think that that's the thing, right? It's going to be solo man coverage specifically. If these guys can hold up in one-on-one man coverage, that will show me something. Are these guys, what scares me a little bit is the composite talent rankings, right? Are these guys better? Are they 5-star heart guys, right? Are they going to show up and play like they're higher than the recruiter ranking? Maybe. Okay, maybe they're going to be all on the same page, but that's the thing that worries me is the back end of the defense. So if these guys are great at communication, if we don't have blown assignments, and if man coverage looks good, I'm going to be fired up, because I love, how the offense looks. I love how the linebacker core looks. D-line could use a little bit of work here and there, but the corners and the safeties are really the issue here at preseason. All SEC second teamer Major Burns, how's he going to show up? What if he just shows up and plays like all SEC this year? That would be electric.
National championship if that's the case.
Yeah, if Major Burns plays like prime Jamal Adams, we might be onto something here.
Shout out all the 5-star hearts, by the way. Just slid that right in there. We always need a good 5-star hearts reference.
Oh yeah. Well, that's why I love the composite. When you've talked about it, they got to adjust that formula because of portal rankings. Because sometimes guys are overlooked and stuff. But like when you really take the emotion out of it and go, how many of these guys would be LSU's first choice 4 or 5 years ago? Not a lot. Now we're getting those guys. We're getting the DJ Pickett's, right? We're getting the guys that are going to be that next generation of DBU. So get your licks in now. But they just got to get that turned over. And some of them are in the building, but they're just young.
Yeah, it's true. That's perfectly fair. Yeah, those came out the other day. I wish they would come out with those a little bit earlier because I would do an entire pod on the talent composite rankings, and we'll be definitely referencing those at various points during the season.